Thinking used car? Finally, there's a place just for you. Motor Trend Orlando, the all-new used car superstore. All makes, all models, all certified, all at one place. Hundreds of vehicles. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Ford, Chevy, Lexus. All makes, all models. Prices up to 65% off original MSRP. All Motor Trend certified vehicles. Finally, the name you can trust in used cars. Motor Trend Orlando. Check it out at mtorlando.com or visit our 35,000-foot indoor showroom today. Motor Trend Orlando.
They took the goal last time, so it fucks me up totally. You know?
Thank you for coming. The purpose of this brief media briefing is just for a chance for us to share with you what's ahead in 2020, to get some information out there so that the reporting of what's happening, particularly dates and how things work, will be accurate. We had hoped that our colleague Chris Anderson from Seminole County would participate, but he had another engagement today, and so they will be doing something later on. So those who don't know, I'm Will Cowles, the Orange County Supervisor of Elections, and this is Mary Jane Arrington, the Osceola County Supervisor of Elections. So we're going to go through the areas that we think are important today to talk about. Some of its key dates, also to bring you up to date on some changes in the law, about how we are contacting voters, some of the misconceptions that are out there, and then I know everybody's interested in cybersecurity and what's been done since 2016. Some final points, and we have a couple things for each of our counties that are specific to us. So with that, so looking at key dates, we want to just real quickly let Mary Jane Arrington talk about the elections for the presidential preference primary in Osceola County.
Osceola County is very fortunate. We only have 2 cities. So how many do you have?
I have 13.
13. And both of our cities have their elections during the general election cycle. So they have their primaries in August, and if no one gets 50% plus 1, then they move on to the November election. So we do not have any municipalities who will be having their elections during the PPP. Where Orange County, on the other hand.
Yes. So for Orange County, we do have the presidential preference primary, which I'll speak to in just a second. And then we have 6 of the 13 cities that will be having their city elections on the March 17th. And then they luckily, none of them have enough candidates for runoff elections in April. So it'll all be done on the March election. But, you know, we're talking about presidential preference primary, a couple things that you need to be aware of. First off, the date for the presidential preference primary is March 17th. Voting is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. For the Central Florida region, all 7 school systems are on spring break that week. It's going to be interesting, particularly on the vote by mail side, in terms of if people are going off for spring break, they better put their request in for their vote by mail ballot and vote before they go out of town. The deadline to register to vote and update party affiliation is February the 18th, which is a Tuesday. Normally it's on a Monday, but that Monday is President's Day, no postal system, and also it floats over to the 18th. Vote by mail ballots can begin starting February the 6th, Orange County will be mailing out theirs on February 6th. Okay, February 7th in Osceola County. And then the deadline to request for a vote by mail ballot is March the 7th at 5 p.m. And that's a new change in the law, that they moved up the deadline for requesting a vote by mail ballot because of the fact that the Postal Service will tell you it's a 5-day delivery process for ballots local for first-class mail if the ballots go out. The other thing about presidential preference primary is, first let's talk about the presidential preference primary. The two national parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, sent to the Secretary of State the list of candidates for the ballot. And then the candidates that were submitted had a 1-week period after that to withdraw, which 2 people did withdraw. And then after that, they certified the list to us. And when we got the certified list on December the 18th from the state, there were 4 candidates for the Republican Party, and there were 16 candidates on the Democratic ballot. And so the first thing is that we must print all those names on the ballot. But as we know today, unless there's been some breaking news this morning, 4 that are on the list have already dropped out. And we also know that there are 24 caucuses or primaries before we vote on March 17th. So we expect the list will get down. So if you get phone calls saying that you got your ballot, people got their ballots, and the ballots had more names on it, than they think it should be because of who's still active, that's not our fault. That's the process. The process is names. And because these candidates are party candidates and not federal, state, county candidates, they don't get treated in the law the same way. So that we're not going to be posting notices that say these people have been withdrawn and all that, because it will keep changing between time early voting start, where ballots go out, early voting starts, and then finally election day. Okay, so first off, understand the ballot. The Democrats have 16 names, the Republicans have 4 names. The other thing that needs to be understood is the fact that Florida's presidential preference primary, just like state law, primaries are closed primaries. So in Orange County, Democrats vote on the Democrat candidates, Republicans on Republicans. But if you are a no party affiliation voter and you live in one of those 6 cities that I listed that are having elections, then you can go to the polls and vote. And in some cases, there will be a nonpartisan ballot with just city on it, and then there'll be party candidates with city on it for that voter. But in Orange County, if you look on our homepage, our website, 30.6% of the registered voters in Orange County are registered with no party affiliation. So they are not invited to the dance on March 17th unless they are a nonpartisan voter that lives in one of those cities. And in Osceola
County, we have 35% of our voters are registered with no party affiliation. But we will be having nothing but the presidential preference primary on March 17th. So only those voters who are Democrat or Republican will be able to vote. We expect confusion because many of our voters have come from other places, and we do it in different places. And if you come from Michigan, you have an open primary state, so you can go to the polls that day and say, today I'd like to vote as a Democrat or a Republican. So in 16, we had a lot of confusion from a lot of our non-party voters who wanted to vote because that's what they were used to.
Mr. Cowles, I'm
Yes.
sorry, did you say 30% or 40%?
In Orange County, it's 30.6%.
Okay.
Look on the home page, there's a little pie chart that shows it. It's probably a little more because there's an orange sliver there for the minor political party, people who still can't get either. So the key part here is the voters who are with no party affiliation want to participate in the presidential preference primary. They have until February 18th to change their party affiliation with our offices so that they can vote in that election. So that's the key. And again, both of us can tell you that we still will get phone calls saying that we're denying the individual the right to vote for president of the United States. And in actuality, that will come in November of this year. This is Florida conducting the party primaries at your tax dollars. All right, so the other part about the presidential preference primary, then we talk about early voting. And so here are the dates for early voting and the hours in terms of Osceola County. Anything else on that?
We have 7 sites. We're going to have a new site, and so we'll be getting information out to all of our voters in the Narcoossee area that we hope will be convenient for them. We are going to be open, the maximum days we can be open, 14, same as Orange County. Our hours are going to be 10 to 7, and Orange County is going to be 10 to 6. We are a commuting county. A lot of our voters work outside the county and they commute back in. And so we tend to stay open later in the evening to get our voters a chance to get back to us to vote.
And in Orange County, we're expanding from 16 to 18 early voting sites. And the good news is we're able to secure locations in the 2 fastest growing segments of Orange County. Down in the Lake Nona area, we will be voting at Valencia College, Lake Nona campus. And on the Horizon West side, the west side off the 429, we have 2 locations. The water conserve facility that we used in 2016, and we will be using the county's Tibbet Butler Preserve Park Community Room. So we'll have those 2 off of the 429. So we're expanding to the 18 sites. Again, we're a little different on time, and we're doing 10 to 6 here. And then, the primary election, we just, to make sure that we had it all set up, we started setting the date is August 18th. That's a change. The election used to be 10 weeks prior to the general. They moved it back to the 11th week prior to the general. So it's August 18th, voting's from 7 to 7 as normal. We give you the deadlines for registering to vote, and then we also, the deadline for requesting vote by mail ballot. And maybe at this point we should point out one of the things that's unique in Florida law is that your vote by mail request is only good for 2 federal elections. So if somebody voted in the 16 and 18 elections by mail, their request has expired, and then they have to renew their request. Why Florida doesn't have a permanent voter file for vote by mail is one thing we would love to have permanent. But so if you hear from voters who say, I always voted by mail and I never got my ballot, again, they're 2 years. And in Orange County, we've already sent a mailer to all the voters that tells them whether they have a request or no request standing on it. So that's your primary dates information. And then the early voting, we've already set our days and times. And again, you can see both of us are using the full max.
Thinking used car? Finally, there's a place just for you. Motor Trend Orlando, the all-new used car superstore. All makes, all models, all certified, all at one place. Hundreds of vehicles. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Ford, Chevy, Lexus. All makes, all models. Prices up to 65% off original MSRP. All Motor Trend certified vehicles. Finally, the name you can trust in used cars. Motor Trend Orlando. Check it out at mtorlando.com or visit our 35,000-foot indoor showroom today. Motor Trend Orlando.
Some 15-day, in that 15-day window, the 14 days of voting, and then we're expanding our hours in the primary election because now we're bringing in countywide. We're also bringing in federal, state, and county primary elections to it. And then we get to the general election of November 3rd, and we've shown you the dates for registering to vote and the deadline for requesting ballots. And finally, there's the early voting information that is out there. I would say that at least in Orange County, we are looking at budgeting potentially to go to 20 sites for the presidential election because we know what turnout will be like in that election. And we're looking at library in Winter Garden, and we're going to be in the Magic Gym down in the Meadowwood area, which if you don't understand Meadowwood and BVL, voters do not know where the county boundary line is. So, but because of the heavy Hispanic population down in Meadowwoods, we felt like we had to have another site down there to take the pressure off of the library that we have there.
In Osceola County, during the presidential elections, early voting is extremely popular. In 2016, 46% of our voters voted early. So we will also be expanding to an additional site for the November election. The tax collector is building a satellite office, and they have a room they have built for us, and that will help us serve the Point Siena West County area, Campbell City intersection. So we will have a total of 8 sites in the August and November election.
A rule of thumb, today's voters, we have shifted them from the polling place. Early voting and vote by mail are the most popular way. We experienced only about a 25% turnout at the polls on election day of the votes cast. And statewide, it's over 50% of the votes cast in the state are done through early and vote by mail.
In Osceola County, it's the same thing. We have about 70% of our voters vote before election day. We had a special election in May, and 78% of our voters voted before election day. So we see the trend. It's called convenience voting. You get to vote when it's convenient for you, and it's becoming more and more popular.
So before we move forward to the next topic, anybody have any questions about the presidential preference primary on March 17th?
I'm sorry, when did you say the deadline for requesting an absentee ballot for that is?
It's March 7th.
March 7th.
The date, did you just give it to them?
It's
It's in the handout.
Okay.
You got it.
right. It's
Okay.
10 days before the election. You
Yeah.
can still come in and pick up a mail ballot
Sure.
or have a designee, but we cannot put it in the mail to you.
And ironically, the 10-day back puts it on the weekend, but luckily we're already open for early voting, so there should be no problem with that being. Yes?
Is there anything being tacked on for the presidential preference primary that we don't know about, like any statewide initiatives or any local initiatives? So it's just...
Well, again, I'm not sure what point you walked in, but Osceola County is strictly Democrat, Republican, closed primary. In Orange, it's Democrat, Republican, closed primary, but there are 6 cities that are having election. On the handout that's back there on the table, it shows the 6 cities, and also the city of Winter Park is putting 11 charter change amendments on their ballot, and Winter Garden is putting 9 questions on their ballot. So beyond that, there's nothing from the federal, state, or county level on that election.
Thank you.
I have a question. In terms of time for voting to stay open, are you factoring in that perhaps it would be such a large turnout that you have to go beyond the time limits of 7 and 8 p.m.?
Florida law says that anybody that is in line by the deadline, and whether it be the early voting schedule or the election day schedule, the voter can still vote. So we do stay open. That's another one of those misconceptions is, if you're in line before the deadline, you can still vote. And so voting does happen after 7 p.m. on election day if there is a line. Presidential preference primary turnout is usually not the case. We will see that. That we will see when we get to November 3rd with the presidential election. All right, so next thing we like to move forward is getting ready for the fall. Many have asked the questions about candidate qualifying. And right now, candidates have filed their intent to run, and you have to file those intents in our office in order to go out and start raising money and buying campaign materials and all that. But the actual dates where you have to come in and you have to put in your paperwork and your qualifying fee are here. The first one is for federal offices and for judges. So if judges are running for circuit judge, the circuit judge, particularly in our case, the 9th Judicial Circuit covers both counties. Circuit judges qualify in Tallahassee with the Florida Department of State. And then they also handle the federal offices for Congress and Senate. State, county, or multi-county, so like a state house district that covers both counties, or a state senate district that covers both counties. Those are done in Tallahassee, but for local races, for county judges and special districts, they're done in our offices. And so the deadline, the time for that qualifying is Monday, June the 8th at noon to Friday, the 12th at noon. And so that's when candidates come in. And then after that, that's when we have the official list of who will be on the ballot in the fall. And depending on the number of candidates, based on whether it's a partisan race, nonpartisan race, it will determine which contest it will be on. The word petition is up there. That's for candidate petitions. So if a candidate is trying to get on the ballot through the petition method, which is where they don't pay a qualifying fee, the petitions have to be in by May the 11th. And for all those initiative petitions that want to make changes to the state constitution, the deadline is February 1st, and ironically, the deadline is February 1st for supervisors to certify them. So we can have trucks delivering them in that morning and still have to have them by 5 o'clock that night certified. So you've probably just seen some stories this week about let's make it legal and their stats. So those are the qualifying dates. Both of our websites have the listing of who has filed their intent to run. It also has the list of all the offices that are up in 2020. And then you go to the state website, and the state website also has all the candidates for all the statewide offices, and then the multi-county races and the judicial races, so you can find that information out there. And 2020 is the year of the supervisor of elections, which makes it unique. We will conduct the largest election in our county and state history while we are on the ballot for re-election on the same day. Right, yeah, okay. Law changes. First one for you all. The no solicitation zone outside of a polling place is now 150 feet. Used to be 50, then it went to 100, and now we're up to 150. So 150 feet from the entrance to the facility where the voting is happening, there is to be no campaigning, no solicitation. One change that is made in the law about the 150 is the fact that anybody can go up to the 150-foot mark and campaign. The no property owner, landlord, renter, or whatever can deny a person the ability to get to that 150 mark. I know here in Orange County, we have already lost several polling places and have gotten replacements for them because the owner, particularly in the case of churches, did not want campaigning anywhere on their property. And under this new law that is now in effect, that you can campaign up to that 150 mark, and we cannot deny it. Using a couple examples here at this office, 150 foot from the front door of our building for early voting is in the middle of Cayley Street. So that pushes it even further out. You now have to be on the work release side of Cayley Street and all that. To my friend John Perry from the Apopka Chief, the tree, the island tree in the parking lot at the community center is now out. Okay? It's in protected zone on that. So it's bringing some challenges to us. Our association is looking at how many polling places are being lost across the state because of it. But the new law is 150 feet from the entrance. You want to take the next one?
We have been prohibited from taking pictures inside the polling location. Now a voter may take a picture of their ballot. You can take not a selfie of you and your ballot, just your ballot. So our association was not in favor of this because of voter intimidation, but it passed, and so we will be dealing with our voters taking pictures of their ballots, posting them on Facebook.
I'm sorry, I missed that. You said they can take selfies with their ballot?
No, just their ballot.
Just the ballot.
Just a ballot. We do have selfie stations in Osceola County.
Really?
Right outside the polling location, and we encourage our voters to take a picture of themselves without their ballot and post it on social media.
So why do you guys want that?
Because my boss, Mr. Cowles, can tell me to go vote and bring him a picture of my ballot on how I voted. And that was voter intimidation.
And the privacy of the vote is another issue.
People are intimidated sometimes by others, and like I tell you, you must bring me a picture of your ballot.
So who wanted it?
It came from the Senate side and the sponsor of the bill. All right, the next one is one that you might be familiar with from a couple of lawsuits and multiple lawsuits, and that's the cure affidavit. So vote by mail, every election, we have two situations with vote by mail ballots. One is where the voter just completely forgets to sign the certificate envelope and send it back. And then there's the other situation where signatures change and they don't match the signature on record here at the elections office. It is used for the comparison on whether to accept the ballot. So if in any elections office we determine that the signature doesn't match or there's no signature on it, as soon as we
Thinking used car? Finally, there's a place just for you. Motor Trend Orlando, the all-new used car superstore. All makes, all models, all certified, all at one place. Hundreds of vehicles. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Ford, Chevy, Lexus. All makes, all models. Prices up to 65% off original MSRP. All Motor Trend certified vehicles. Finally, the name you can trust in used cars. Motor Trend Orlando. Check it out at mtorlando.com or visit our 35,000-foot indoor showroom today. Motor Trend Orlando.